All right. Welcome, everybody, to the Blindside Blitz, the podcast where we tackle the biggest stories and surprise moves in the NFL. Today's episode is packed with game changing news and expert insight. The New York Jets have officially hit the reset button, shipping off star defensive tackle Quinnen Williams to the Dallas Cowboys and shutdown corner Sauce Gardner to the Indianapolis Colts. Meanwhile, the New Orleans Saints are shaking things up of their own, sending dynamic young wide receiver Rashid Shaheed to contender-loaded Seattle Seahawks and trading offensive lineman Trevor Penning to injury-stricken Los Angeles Chargers. And that's not all. We'll be joined by Seattle Seahawks writer and fantasy football expert Scott Engel, who will help us break down what Shaheed brings to the Seattle Seahawks and their already explosive offense and what it all means for your fantasy roster. Big trades, big implications, and big time analysis. I'd like to join you here. My name is Jim McPhee, and right there is my co-host, Joe DeCapita.
What's going on, Blitz Nation? Welcome back once again. You know what we like to do. We're going to be talking about NFL talk, of course. But before we get to that, make sure you tell a friend to tell a friend. Spread the word around. Head over to YouTube for us. Help us grow this channel further. Make sure you hit that subscribe button. Make sure you hit the thumbs up while you're there. And be part of the nation.
Yeah, absolutely, Joe. So let's get right into it. Like I said, joining us here to talk a little fantasy football, and he, like I said before, writes for Seattle Seahawks. He knows his stuff, and he's got to be excited right now. Rashid Shaheed now joining us here with the Seattle Seahawks. We've got Scott Engel. Scott Engel, thank you so much for joining us tonight.
Yeah, good to be back with you, fellas. Yes, I am excited. It's not just fantasy wise, real life wise.
Yeah, absolutely. And before we get into talking some fantasy now, the Seattle Seahawks, I mean, look at them right now, fighting for that the lead of the division in a tight one here with the Rams. The 49ers are still alive here too. Sam Darnold and what he's brought to this team. But looking at it from your lens, do you think he's the biggest reason for their success this year, or even it could be that tough defense?
There's a lot of reasons for the success. I think the offensive line is much improved. People would talk so much about the offensive line and how it was, in the bottom of all like the Pro Football Focus rankings, everything else, and the basic stats weren't good. Sam Darnold's been sacked 9 times. That's the lowest amount of any quarterback tied in the NFL. His last game with the Minnesota Vikings, he was sacked 9 times. The having a healthy Abe Lucas at right tackle, who many Seattle Seahawks beat guys think is their best lineman, and drafting Gray Zabel at left guard has led to his protection. And Darnold's had a lot of time to throw, go through his progressions, and being with Clint Kubiak, he knows the offense. He's very comfortable, but it's about the projection. I've been watching the Seahawks for so many years, and it was great watching Prime Russ like escape from sacks. But then I was watching Geno take some sacks, and now just to see the protection is great. The running game hasn't quite got going yet, but rookie fullback Robbie Oots is a great blocker, and he just came back last week. Plus, Shaheed is going to, the Seahawks face a lot of light boxes, a lot of heavy stack fronts. They're in like the bottom of the second half of the league and facing light boxes. Shaheed is going to open things up for the running game more, I think. So the defense has been terrific. It's that defensive line is one of the best, if not the best, in the NFL. Leonard Williams, Byron Murphy, DeMarcus Lawrence, and then Ernest Jones has been a great linebacker, but I don't know if he's going to play this week. But they've dealt real well with injuries in the secondary. Devin Witherspoon, who's their top defensive back, came back last week. You saw the effect of him coming back against Washington. Julian Love is out, but Ty Okada stepped up with a really nice interception. It's the depth on the team when they've turned to certain guys to step up, they've done the job.
Yeah, absolutely. Watching him the other night dominate was just something to watch, and it was amazing. And that's what I mean when you see Rashid Shaheed now join the team. You're like, wow, this team could be even more dangerous. But when you look at it, you're like, when this season started, trading away, getting rid of Lockett, getting rid of DK Metcalf. Now you're investing all in Jackson Smith and Jigba now to move out of that slot wide receiver position to now that number one, and he has showed up. He's leading the league right now in receiving yards at 948, and fantasy points he's averaging 14 and a half each week. But with the addition of Rashid Shaheed, how do you think that's going to affect his fantasy production?
I think it only helps. Like he's he's like a convenience store. He's open all the time. It's and with Shaheed taking defenders downfield with him, I think it really only helps Jackson Smith Najigba. It's interesting that you talk about it because I write sports betting articles about the Seahawks on Oregon Live twice a week. You can check them out. I just updated their futures in the preseason. The over under for their wins on the season on DraftKings was 8.5. In week 8, it was 9.5. In week 9, it was 10.5. Now it's 11.5. It's like the value
Mhm.
is disappearing when you try to wager on the futures. But they have the second best odds to on DraftKings to win the division. Their odds right now to win the Super Bowl have gone down from 3,500 in week 8 to 1,400 this week, which is
Oh, wow.
eighth best, and they got the fifth best odds in the NFC. But I'll give credit what credit is due. The first guy, he probably won't see this. I hope he does, but the first guy to say that the Seahawks were legit Super Bowl contenders was before this game. It was Richard Sherman, who's who said this. And when I'm reading a great book called The Franchise. Michael Sean Dugar is beat writer for the Athletic for the Seahawks, and he wrote a whole book that just came out about the Legion of Boom era, and I'm very much enjoying it. I remember, if you remember that game of Richard Sherman, where he went up to Brady and he's like, "You mad, bro? You mad, bro?" After that, I remember an interview with him in the clubhouse, and he said, "People are going to respect the Seahawks from now on." He called it then. He might be calling it now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. Sure. We remember him as a player doing all kinds of stuff. I thought you even see, back when he started barking when Aaron Andrews was there and saying, I'm the best. You want to disrespect me. Oh man. But he's had a lot of good sound bites here, Richard Sherman. Joe, all right, what do we got here? I know you've got some questions here for Scott too, as well.
So I want to touch more on the Rashid Shaheed trade for the Seattle Seahawks because it should open things up for them, like you mentioned, Scott, earlier. Offensively, you should open up your running game a little bit more because now defenses are going to have to concentrate on not one, but now two playmaking wide receivers. So for Rashid Shaheed, from a fantasy perspective now, for people that may be looking to add him, because I know he's in a bunch of leagues where he's still available for some reason, but also for the ones that have nabbed him, what can they expect for him in the future weeks?
I think he's still like high ceiling, low floor fantasy wise, but not as much as he was in New Orleans. He's definitely going to have some game winning weeks, but there'd be other weeks where, he's not giving you the numbers that you want. I think it will fluctuate, and it really depends on who you play against. Because you play in the NFFC or the FFPC, he's not on your free agent list. In home leagues, you're going to find him, on the free agent list. And I would say if you got about $100 fab budget and say you got like 50 left, I'd be willing to go say about $17 on him.
Mhm. That's good. And then then we have the Cowboys, if you will, making a couple of different trades, both on the defensive side of the ball, getting a linebacker in Logan
Wilson.
Wilson.
Wilson,
Mm-hmm.
and also pulling off a trade for a big fish in the pond in New
Yeah,
York,
Quentin
Quinnen
Williams. Yeah,
Williams.
yeah.
With those two moves in mind, and we know that the Cowboys defense has been struggling up to this point, can't stop anybody. They seem to just kind of give it up no matter what. With these two additions, do you foresee like at some point that the Cowboys defense might be a fantasy relevant defense?
I can't see it because these guys are coming over in the middle of the season and
Mhm.
got to get acclimated to the new schemes and everything. Or
Yeah.
I don't know how familiar they are with the schemes, but it really depends on who they're matched up against. I mean, but you got to remember with fantasy defenses, you take a look at some fantasy defenses and people will start them because they're a bad defense, but they're facing a bad offense and they don't perform. So I'm not using the Cowboys until I actually see with my own two eyes that things have improved because the secondary is still an issue.
Yes. And that's gotta kinda be a little bit of a head scratcher too, is the fact that they needed more help in the back end, and I'm surprised that they didn't pull off a trade for that back end.
Well, they might have called the Seahawks about Reek Woolen, but I think that, and the Seahawks did get calls about Reek Woolen. But
Mhm.
the one thing I wanted to happen, I heard reports that the Seahawks went hard after Max Crosby, and the Raiders
Really?
totally rebuffed it. That Pete Carroll was ultimately the one that shot it down.
Mhm.
Hmm.
It's interesting. Speaking about the Raiders now, the all the rumors were around Las Vegas. When's Jacoby Myers gonna be sent off? When's he getting traded? He finally gets traded to the Jacksonville Jaguars, and what can you see? What kind of a role can you see now that he's now shifted gears and going to Jacksonville? Do you think that despite his kind of like low tier value with Las Vegas, now going to Jacksonville, that he's going to get a little bit more of a bump in fantasy?
I'm not confident in it. Jacoby Myers has always been overrated from fantasy perspectives. And he's done this year what he did in New England a few years ago. He just didn't get in the end zone. I think he'll probably be a better real life receiver than a fantasy receiver. He's somebody I think who'll be dependable for Trevor Lawrence. But now I'm another half season in with the Trevor Lawrence, and I want nothing to do with him anymore in real life or fantasy.
Gotcha.
All right, Joe, you good there? Or should we go? What are you
That's
doing?
it.
All right, you got yours. All right, cool. Scott, so everybody's again trying to battle fantasy every week. I think this season, I think we've seen so many different backups start being starters or coming in, whether because of people getting benched or even just injuries. I mean, injuries all over. So it's been hard to manage teams and with injuries on top of it and all. So this week, uh, could you give us your starters and situms for week 10?
Start him in some. I'm just starting to work on my player rankings for Roto Bowler here for week 10, and I'll give you a little bit of preview. They're going to be
All
published
right.
early tomorrow morning. At quarterback, I kind of like Jackson Dart against the Bears in one league. I got Dak on a bye, and I'm going to be able to use him. You got to love Drake May's matchup this week going against Tampa Bay. I expect a high scoring game between him and Baker Mayfield. Uh, Jacoby Brissett at Seattle, don't like him. You know, that's a really good
Mhm.
defense that he's facing. Brock Purdy will come back, but he's going against the Rams. I don't know how much I like that either. And here's an example we talk about in defense. Bryce Young faces the Saints. Great matchup, right?
Mhm.
But Bryce Young's not putting up good enough numbers in fantasy to want to use him anywhere. So,
Right.
Bryce Young's always a bench to me. That's kind of obvious. Uh, and running back, I would say RJ Harvey is a good start against the Las Vegas Raiders. I think that's a good stream. Especially you got Chiefs and other top players on bye this week. Uh, I would not start Alvin Kamara against Carolina. He just doesn't get it done against anybody. Alvin Kamara didn't score a single fantasy point last week.
Yeah.
He's washed. Yeah. Great career.
See it.
And probably doing a lot of stuff for the team in real life, but for fantasy purposes, he's washed. And wide receiver, I think I got to like. I have to like. Remember, I'm just putting this together now. Jordan Addison against Baltimore, I think is a good play. Ted McMillan against the Saints. I don't like the quarterback, but sometimes the quarterback's not good, but the receiver is so much of a target hog that he becomes a good play. Also looking at, I don't like Parker Washington against Houston. I think that's a bad matchup for him.
Okay.
Demario Douglas against Tampa Bay, maybe he can get in the end zone again. Then I had Douglas as a preseason sleeper, and now he's finally coming along. Colston Loveland against the Giants, you got to like him. Harold Fannin against the Jets. Mason Taylor against Cleveland, I don't like him. Jawan Johnson, maybe somebody to use against Carolina. And, the Packers reportedly were trying to trade, trade for a tight end. There were rumors that they would mix for Njoku, but it didn't happen. So Luke Musgrave's going to have to play tight end. I think he's an interesting streamer.
Oh, all right. Nice.
Yeah.
All right. Any players to avoid absolutely this week besides Bryce Young?
I think I gave you a few. I gave you Parker Washington. I'm definitely avoiding this week. I would say at tight end, tight end's kind of obvious though.
Yeah.
It's because it's such a thin position. If you got a good guy, you play him no matter who he's facing. I don't like, I don't like the Minnesota running backs against Baltimore necessarily, although Baltimore is not as good against the run as they used to be. But they might cancel each other out. I did give you Alvin Kamara. Ja'Cory Krosky Merritt, there's no way you'd start him at all.
No.
I wouldn't start any Arizona running backs unless Benson comes back because Seattle's just so darn good against the run. They're the best run defense in the NFL. So, and then at wide receiver, maybe Roma Dunze bounces back. That's, I hate cliches, but maybe it's a squeaky wheel kind of thing. Christian Watson, boomer bust. He gets playing against the Eagles this week. Their corners are very physical. I kind of don't like him this week. I don't want to play Jamison Williams against anybody. I thought he was a bust in the preseason. Thought he was going to be right. Trey Tucker against Denver. Yeah, he becomes a number one wide receiver, but he's a small slot speedster, so I don't like him.
All right, there you go. There's your stardoms and situms from Scott Engel. On X, it's at Scott E the King. That's right. Before you leave us too, I know you're a betting man too. Do you have a lock of the week? Somebody to go in and put some money down on?
I'm looking at the odds like early in the week, but looking at the Seattle Arizona game today for Oregon Live, I'm not saying take the Cardinals on the money line, but a 6.5 spread in a divisional game is just too much. So I'm gonna take the Cardinals on the money. I mean to cover the spread. I'm not gonna take them on the money line though. And I also write sports betting for the Steelers on Penn Live, and all under the Advanced Local umbrella, and that's an interesting game too. Rodgers versus Herbert. I'm probably taking the over there. But you got to remember, too, sometimes people are new at sports betting. So you want to go with something like DraftKings will have or FanDuel will have. If your bet wins on the welcome offer, then you get the bonus bets. So then you
Yeah.
want to do something like minus 500 is the longest you can go to unlock the bonus bets. But what
Yeah.
I did for the Sixers and the Bulls tonight, I said Tyrese Maxey 20 plus points minus 470. You would never regularly bet that, but that triggers the bonus bets because it's such an easy play. Second in the NBA in scoring, 33
Mhm.
points a game. Then you got your bonus bets. You got $300 worth of bonus bets, and you just go from there.
Yeah. Excellent. There you go. So you guys heard it right there. You take Arizona with the points right there. So thank you so much, Scott. Before we head out of here, tell everybody where they can find more of your content. I know we listed a few, but I know you're all over the place, man. And I know just spreading your insight all over. So go ahead and tell people where they can find some more of your stuff.
Yeah, I'm kind of like Armando Benitez used to be for the Mets. I'm all over the place. Um, uh, let's see. Rotoballer.com, obviously
Mhm.
got it behind me. Check out
Mhm.
my lineup spotlights every Saturday afternoon, where I go deeper on players. My lineup ranks are posted on Wednesday. I'm on Sirius XM Fantasy Sports Radio with Rotoballer Radio, 6 to 7 a.m. Eastern on Sundays and Wednesdays. I'll be on tomorrow. We'll talk RAF. Seahawks.com every Tuesday and Wednesday. The Seahawks, they've always been known for the 12s and embracing the fans. It's great because, I've been working there for 14 years now, and this organization totally embraces fantasy football.
Nice.
And you'll see my content over there every week. I also appear on the Seahawks Insiders podcast with Jen Mueller and beat reporter John Boyle. Um, Advanced local sports betting. I'm on several sites: NJ.com, Oregon Live, Penn Live. You'll see me regularly. Writing football on those sites: Giants, Jets, Seahawks,
Nice.
Steelers. Just sometimes, super. I'll be updating Super Bowl odds and MVP odds this week on NJ.com.
Excellent, excellent. Thank you so much for
Nice.
joining us. We definitely appreciate the insight. Everybody out there that follows fantasy, that plays fantasy. I know Joe does a lot. I don't, but I know a lot of people out there. It's very big. So there you go. Go to those websites, check it out. Listen to Scott Engel. He knows his stuff. He's a pro. He's been doing it for a very long time. Hall of Famer. Absolutely, we enjoy every time you come and join on with us. It's been too long, man. It's been like over a year or so since we did the draft show. So we have to have you on again soon.
Yeah, it feels like yesterday. It's like really, really comfortable with you guys.
Oh,
Anytime.
excellent. No problem.
Appreciate it.
All right. Thanks. We'll talk to you guys soon. All right. There you go. Scott Engel. That's right. Oh, man. Fantasy talk. Again, he knows his stuff, and he doesn't just write about the Seahawks. I know he's a big Seahawks fan. He's been writing for them for a very long time. Again, knows the team inside and out. He was on our draft special, our first episode ever, Joe, and gave us really like in-depth insight about John Schneider and the organization and things, and in-depth analysis about players, everything. And it's cool that he's got the inside scoop also on some of these different things. And he brought up a few different trade scenarios that I didn't know about too, that potentially could have went down. I know Hody was in the chat. He's saying he'd be scared seeing Max Crosby on the Seattle Seahawks here on the defense going bananas. So
It's funny how
I think we're
everybody
happy that didn't happen, right?
funny how everybody keeps saying about Crosby this, Crosby that, when really the Raiders were never going to entertain trading Crosby. That's just asking to be the laughing stock of everything, of all the bad decisions. So that was never going to even be a thing. I know there were teams like Seattle that did call, and the Raiders just weren't even listening to anything. You could have offered 3 first rounders, and I think they still would have hung up the phone. So
Yeah, yeah, and I think that's what even probably went down. They're just keep making offers, keep on. No, not enough, not enough, not enough, not enough. Sorry, but whatever. So you gotta try though. You can't fault teams for trying though, right, Joe?
nope,
Nope.
nope.
So all right. We're gonna get into now the trades. The trade deadline happened. It came and went, and boy, was it exciting, and it was crazy, and it
Big
mainly
trades too.
involved, yeah, and it mainly involved, the Jets and the Saints here, but a bunch of other teams are able to capitalize by picking from some of these lower teams here, looking to start or rebuild or a refresh, trying to grab draft capital. So let's go right to the Jets and their rebuild again. Here they are again. It's
Is it
rinse, wash, repeat, right, Joe? Is that how it goes?
Is it really a rebuild? I mean, it's more like a fire sale. It's not a rebuild.
Yeah,
man.
no, that's true. It's that's true. It's like it's a fire sale now, but with the intent, you think that they would have to rebuild, right?
But how many times does this organization have to have the intent to rebuild? Because they continually miss on their draft picks that they get.
Yeah.
So it's like, we'll see yet again. We'll see if the Jets can figure out the draft once again with all their picks.
Team. I was born into this, and I'm not gonna ever.
Oh, I hate this team. That's great. I'll never get that out of my head when that kid is just in. I hate this team. That's how I feel about my team sometimes, right? But all right, let's look at the trade now here. All right, Quinnen Williams goes to the Dallas Cowboys in exchange for a 2026 second round pick, 2027 first round pick. So they get 2 first round picks and Mozzie Smith, the D tackle here from the Cowboys. And then also Sauce Gardner was dealt to the Colts in exchange for 2026 and 2027 first round picks as well. So getting some capital here, definitely in high end picks. Now, they got Adonai Mitchell, the guy everybody kind of knows too, that fumbled the ball early too, and started to trend a little bit this year with that mistake. But the Jets handed now, they've got a couple first round picks coming up. One, 2 of them next year or the year after, rather. But getting another one this year. You think now too, this is the year that they got to try and grab a quarterback, but with another year that we're not even sure who the best quarterback is in this draft at this moment. It will be interesting to see what the Jets do with that, number 1 pick.
Well, with the number 1 overall pick, it's going to be quarterback no matter what. They're going to take wherever they do end up, whether it be first overall pick, second overall pick, top 3, whatever the case may be. They're taking a quarterback. They have to take a future quarterback to hopefully be the answer after Fields is all said and done. And I wouldn't even just stop there. Like, I would even bring in another quarterback next offseason and have a big, huge quarterback open competition. I mean, why not? And that's the other thing too, is with all these draft picks for the Jets, they seem to miss on a lot of them. Even as high up as they may be at the end of the season, they've missed on a ton of draft picks, and that's not good. You can't build a winning franchise if you're not doing well in the draft. And when you deal a Sauce Gardner, who a lot of people see as one of the best corners in football, but you're like, okay, we'll deal him to the Colts, and the Colts give up a ton. They gave up 2 first round picks, 1 in 26, 1 in 27, and a wide receiver to them. So a lot of people, from what everybody's, talking about, mumbling about, having conversations off to the side, they're saying the Colts gave up too much for Sauce Gardner. Because if you look about where Sauce Gardner has stood in terms of production this year, he's not playing like he was last year. He's not shutting down receivers like he was last year. He prevented touchdowns, for God's sakes, last year. You're not seeing that same corner this year. So maybe with a change of environment, that's what the Indianapolis Colts are banking on. But man, did they kind of overpaid in a sense for Gardner.
Right. And when this trade went down, I was kind of thinking the same thing. I'm like, first, again, you're floored. You're like, wow, Sauce gone, Gardner's gone. I'm like, wow, dude, what did they get? And that's the next question. And you're like, 2 first round picks. I'm like, whoa. And then I found out about Adonai Mitchell even afterwards. I'm like, man, dude. And that's kind of what you're thinking. I thought the same exact thing, Joe, because when I first heard the trade, I'm like, it makes sense though, too. Production's down. He's creating a lot of penalties. You know what I mean? Seems frustrated on a team not playing what he was, his rookie season, first 2 seasons in the league, definitely taking a down tick. So the fact that they were able to get 2 first rounds, I thought was astronomical. And then plus another wide receiver on top of it, who's still young as
He's a
well.
throw-in. Let's be honest.
Yeah, no, I get that. But still, no, I get that. But still, though, you know what I mean? Like you said, it seems like the Colts have overpaid here for Sauce Gardner, who has not been performing as of late. And it's kind of funny, too, because our guy, John Frisella, that we follow on X, too, he had pointed out the fact that he brought the trade last year that maybe the Jets should trade Sauce Gardner last year, while even his production was at his highest, or his value was at his highest at this point. And he was on, and he got mocked for that. Why would you do this? Why did you do that? And looky, here we are. Here he is now. But luckily for the Jets, they're still able to get good picks for that and good value on this one.
I mean, yes. I mean, we'll see how it all turns out.
Yeah.
I mean, for the Colts, like the other interesting thing too is Sauce Gardner's a great man-to-man corner, and the Colts typically don't play a lot of man-to-man. They play more zone coverage, schemes. So I'm curious to see how this marriage is going to work going forward for the Colts. But for the Jets, I feel like they got a lot. They got premium picks, high end, to where maybe they can turn the team around a little bit sooner than obviously they got to hit on their picks. But then that brings you to the Quinnen Williams trade with the Cowboys. This is a trade. I'm going to be honest. I was absolutely floored when it went through. I did not think that Quinnen Williams was on the docket.
No, everybody's talking about, Jermaine Johnson. You know what I mean, right? That was the name
for Quinnen Williams, their best defensive lineman to be moved for a 26 second round pick, a 27 first round pick, and they threw in D tackle Mozzie Smith, who, mind you, is still in his prime, young, and the Cowboys were literally just giving up on him. I think that the Jets ended up cashing in and winning on this trade as well. As good as Quinnen Williams is, think about the amount of money this guy's going to be seen after. Like, he's going to want a commanding contract when it comes due relatively soon. So, Cowboys, who have been financially crippled, now we're going to have to, maybe after giving what they gave up for him, try to find some way, somehow, to get enough cash to where they'll be able to keep Quinnen in the near future. So I feel like the Jets on both trades really kind of, pushed the value meter way high and succeeded in both moves. Yes, they gave up premier players, of course, but this is a team that they're not going nowhere. Like, if these same players stayed into next season, it doesn't necessarily mean that they're going to be so much better that they're going to be a 500 team. So they decided to, like, you know what? We're going to cut our losses. We're going to do an absolute rebuild, and we're going to cash in on some of these high marketed players. And they did that.
Yeah, absolutely. We got a shout out to Hody out there. Hody John's in the house with us. He says, hot take, I think the Jets won both their trades. Joe just said it too, so I think he agrees right there with you as well. Williams only 1 sack this year. Gardner 2 years removed from a Pro Bowl and having a nightmare PFF year with a fat contract. That's right. He says, but like you said, it's a matter of landing those picks and a new cap space, which has not exactly been a hallmark for their organization.
Yeah, nothing's been a hallmark there. Like,
yeah,
it's been a nightmare with the Jets.
The only hallmark about the Jets is the sad cards that you have to send Jets fans. Get better soon, right, Joe?
We're
the sympathy
sorry.
cards.
We are terribly sorry. We feel awful that once again we did not give you a winning franchise.
Cheer up, buddy.
Better luck next year.
Always next year.
XOXO.
Maybe. Oh man. So joking at the Jets' expense and moving on to now the Cowboys. You talk about that Quinnen Williams trade now. They invest in defense. Will these trades help a struggling defense here? And I get the impact that Quinnen Williams can bring to that interior. And they did, bring in an interior alignment from the Green Bay Packers too as well. But I don't think even pass rush is the problem. They brought in Jadeveon Clowney. It seems like they're like, oh, so the problem is all on the front. We got to get more pass rushers. I don't care how old they are. I don't care what this. I got to get more guys here and here. And the problem is the secondary. The secondary is leaky as a sieve. And I didn't address that at all. And I heard rumors about, a Minkah Fitzpatrick deal with the Dolphins. And I thought that was going to be a sure thing too. And especially while the Dolphins would be trying to possibly sell some guys, his value was high for them. And that didn't happen at all either. So I was surprised they didn't go for secondary.
Well, that's the big question there. Is for Cowboys fans. They're absolutely excited to hear the big names that they brought into Dallas. I mean, Quinnen Williams, are you kidding me? One of the best D tackles in football. Yeah, you got to be excited. But I kind of scratched my head on this one. I'm like, why are they giving up compensation to bring in a big time D tackle like Quinnen Williams when they've already made a trade and got Kenny Clark? They already have a Digizua at D tackle, who they've paid a lot of money to. They brought in the pass rusher, that's kind of like blowing up the plays for them this week. They've made some moves in the front to where I was like, maybe they don't need anything up there. I'm just, but instead they decided, yep, we're going to upgrade our D tackle. But this means that Kenny Clark doesn't have a home in the starting lineup. You know that, right? Like,
Yeah,
you're not going to bench Odigizua. You're not going to bench Quinnen Williams, who you just traded for and gave up a lot of picks for, high end picks. So Kenny Clark is going to be now a rotational player. Like, what's the decision making going on here? And then for them to, yes, I agree 100%. Any team that needed a linebacker, Logan Wilson was the guy to go get. And they only had to give up a 6th rounder for this guy. This guy still has 2 years left on his contract too. So it was a big time win for the Cowboys to get him, and they need help in that linebacking core. But you said, Jim, Scott said it earlier in the show, it's the secondary. It's the back end of the defense. Why didn't they go all in on getting maybe a Sauce Gardner, on maybe getting somebody else like a Minkah Fitzpatrick, who was on the trade block, but we didn't see them do that. Instead, they concentrated on the front 7, and I still think that even though they have essentially upgraded and should be tougher up front, the back end is still going to be weary. The back end is going to be weak, and teams are going to expose them in the pass game.
Yeah, absolutely, Joe. I mean, I agree too. Again, it was a head scratcher for some of these ones too. I heard rumors about for it not to go down. Some teams I thought were going to be active to either sell or buy in. It's interesting to see where teams were kind of happy where they were or what they were going to do within their organization. Now, moving on to the trades that happened again today, especially with the Jets here, back onto the Colts. Colts got a little bit beat up here against the Pittsburgh Steelers this past week. That was a game that I thought again that Pittsburgh was going to be able to handle business here against Daniel Jones. It was just the right time. That defense, I think, was going to kind of bounce back over what they've been doing lately and underperforming. And Daniel Jones is kind of that quarterback to kind of do it towards. Again, you saw kind of shades of what he used to be and stuff, the turnovers, the pressure, but still a really good team and a well-balanced team. And for them, to go and make this trade, I think is a good spot for their defense. Again, if now Sauce Gardner can kind of, again, limit the mistakes, but I feel like the mistakes were because of frustration with the team and where they were and kind of acting out on the field, in my opinion. So I feel like a change of scenery here with the Colts, much like it's done with other people like Daniel Jones itself, I think that change of pace and change of scenery for him will kind of lighten some of that up. And we're going to kind of see him kind of revert back to what we saw his rookie year in previous first 2 seasons. So I think it's a good fit for Indianapolis and what they're doing. And also Sauce Gardner to help that defense here on the back end too, as well.
For Sauce Gardner, anytime you get to add a talent like his caliber, of course you're going to pull the trigger and get him. That doesn't mean that he's going to have a great year all of a sudden with Indianapolis. Now, You look back with the Jets and Sauce Gardner. Robert Saleh was the defensive coordinator when he was successful, mind you. That was a different defensive scheme. And maybe that's a big part of the reason why the Jets have struggled on defense is because the scheme is different and it doesn't fit the players that they have. Now he's getting dealt to the Indianapolis Colts. Now the same thing could be said over there. Maybe the defense doesn't fit him still, even though he's a premier player. Things don't work out still. We'll have to wait and see how that all shakes out with Indianapolis. But I'll tell you right now, huge moves were made today. And man, I'm surprised on the players that did get traded and the compensation galore.
Yeah, absolutely. Again, only time will tell, like you said. And the fact that the gamble that they've taken, putting that investment, the picks, and like you said, a throw-in player, but the picks on top of it, they are showing right now that they're just kind of like, hey, Daniel Jones is playing good. We're looking good. We've got a great record, and we only have 2 losses right now. The Texans are still kind of even trying to find themselves. Jags are just kind of in the middle. We're going all in, I think, on this one. Daniel Jones, everything's hot right now. Let's roll.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Right.
If anything, any of the Colts type of teams to say let's ride, that's the team that's going to do it right now, because that's what I mean. They gambled all in. They're like, let it ride, baby. We're going all in with Daniel Jones and Sauce Gardner. Shout out to Christian Dickinson is joining us tonight too as well. Thunder and lightning, he says. Boom, the dynamic duo.
That's right.
Yeah, absolutely. So, yeah, that's what we kind of are even too, right? You think us with a Blindside Blitz, we got Thunder on one show and then Lightning on this show. I mean, I like it though too. I mean, we should be the Thunder and Lightning. I like it. So yeah, let's talk about the next real bigger trade that even happened here too with the Saints, right? The Saints were active, and their main goal basically here for them, because again, it's either them are going to get the first round pick, you would think, or the Jets at this point. It's going to be a battle between those two. I'm sure one of those teams is going to win and screw it up somewhere along the lines. But their one main goal is basically to gain more draft capital. And technically they did accomplish that. I don't think they got really great compensation though for what they were putting out there. You know what I mean?
There was a couple of trades that were a little lackluster in terms of compensation, but for the player that was dealt. However, it's kind of they're both teams that did pull these trades off, like for the Saints and Rashid Shaheed. I think they were pushing to hopefully get a third rounder for him, but when it came down to crunch time and the deadline's approaching, and there's a lot of pressure being built up. But like, yeah, we want to move on from him because we don't want to pay him. We all know that the Saints are cash strapped with their salary cap every year. They're always over, and they got to find their way back underneath the cap. So this is another move for them. They're like, okay, let's cash in on him. Let's get whatever we possibly can. It turns out to be a 26 fourth rounder and a 26 fifth rounder. But they send him to Seattle, and it's one of these moves where like they got what they could for him with the limited time that they had, and at least they got some compensation for him instead of him being a free agent.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's the kind of thing though, right? Yeah, and that's why I thought too. I'm like, man, Shaheed, he's still young. He's explosive,
He's in his prime.
And we heard more about Olave kind of being pushed too, and that's why it was kind of like even a surprise to me that Shaheed was the guy to go. And
yeah, they were both rumored to go.
Right, and then the 4th and 5th round pick, though, I was like, huh. I'm like, yeah, again, what you said, like you said, they were trying to push for that 3rd, but they just couldn't get it done. So they got 4th and a 5th. So they got what they could. They got 2 picks out of it. And like we talked about, with Hody, it's whatever they can do with it, and hopefully they can do something. And it shows you too with their veterans that they have, where they have the locked in money, like you said, they've been in. Since Sean Payton was there, they've been in, salary cap purgatory, and they're still trying to shed that money. And unfortunately, the veterans that they have there, there's just no value at all. Like we talked about Alvin Kamara, he like put up 1 fantasy point or not even a point.
Exactly.
Right.
Here's
and
my
go ahead.
Sorry, Jim. Let me interrupt for 1 second.
Sure.
So with the Saints, they both had both receivers rumored to be dealt, right? Chris Olave, they said was likely. Rashid Shaheed, they were kind of on the fence about. It ends up being Rashid Shaheed, but why not Alvin Kamara? Why not a veteran running back that maybe, who knows, maybe you could get a third for him. Maybe, for a team that needs it. Like Kansas City, I know was sniffing around for a running back. I know they contacted the Jets. I know that they wanted Brees Hall. That was definitely on the docket. And the Jets wanted at least a third round pick for Brees Hall, but the Chiefs weren't willing to move up to that. They wanted to give a fourth rounder for him. And that deal never ended up getting consummated. So there has been moves to where, like the Saints, get unloading, right? Like the Jets getting rid of players. It was weird though because the Jets got rid of high-end young players, and the Saints could have had an opportunity to maybe deal Alvin Kamara, who was aging, who cost a lot of money, who potentially could get him off the books. But yeah, there's definitely some moves that kind of didn't happen as well that I kind of expected to, and they just simply didn't, turn up to be dealt.
Yeah, absolutely. And when you look at this trade too here with the Shaheed one, I mean, with Seattle now, what they're doing, you looked at that offense and what they looked like even over the weekend. Oh my goodness. I was ecstatic watching that game. You know what I mean? I was like, wow, these guys are really just putting it to them. Like I thought they would still win against, Washington, but they pounded the crap out of them. You know what I mean? I mean, just to put it on and kept it going. Scored so many early. It was just touchdown, touchdown, touchdown. And you see what they're doing. Sam Darnold staying, I think he's through 17 straight in a row, without an incompletion until
Right.
one of his teammates jinxed him, and then he threw it incomplete, then an interception. And he's like, hey, remember, I'm still Sam Darnold, though. Bang. Like just had to do that quick to remind everybody, oh, yeah, that's right. There's an interception. But looking so good on all phases, special teams, defense, the offense, the way it's doing. He's getting other guys, Horton involved too, who's a speedy guy too, on top of it, balancing out the running game. But now adding this talent too on top of it. Whew, oh my goodness. When you're looking at the other teams in the division in San Francisco, who's just battered and beaten and hanging on by a thread with Mac Jones, being the injuries that they have, with the Rams just, cruising along and doing their thing. But looks like Seattle, again, they're a real, force to be reckoned with coming out of that West division.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, like even in the offseason, we knew that they had a young, pretty decent defense that seemed to be gelling last year. Now it looks even better than ever. You can definitely see the comfortability in that scheme now with all those young players, how they've gotten used to it and now are just thriving. And then also you look at the offensive side of the ball where they ditch Geno Smith, bring in Sam Darnold, who's a more efficient quarterback, and bolstered their offensive line through the draft and free agency. This team looks completely different from last year. This team is ready to go. They're ready to compete. They're ready to push for the division and the playoffs. And who knows after that? So this is
Yeah.
definitely a team that's on the rise. I'm just curious, even though they had a dominating game against Washington, it doesn't tell the whole story because we've seen Sam Darnold struggle in a couple of games this year where you got to kind of wonder, like, when it gets down to the nitty gritty of it, down to the end of the season, maybe in round one of the playoffs, is that going to rear its ugly head again to where he starts to struggle in the spotlight?
Yeah, I mean, and that's what was apparent. And that's kind of like when this season started, that's what was left in my brain, right? Because
Mhm.
the regular season looked astronomical
Flawless.
again, right? Just like
Yeah.
this one does. You have Minnesota, you have talent everywhere too, everywhere. Addison, I mean, Jefferson. And then you get to your big game, and where are you? You're gone. You're seeing ghosts again. You crinkle, fold up like a lawn chair. You're disappeared. And that's what you're talking about, Joe. Like, so is this just the story behind Sam Darnold? Is he just going to be a regular season guy, and come playoff time, he gets scared and he disappears? You're not going to see him. So that's what we'll see, I guess, moving forward, as long
Right.
as they keep continuing on the path they are. Come playoff time, you got to show up. So that's the
Is
big question for these
the
guys.
big question is Sam Darnold a ginger like Andy Dalton in his prime, or is Sam Darnold the ginger that's going to change the future?
I don't know. That could be the question, right? We don't know. We will find out, right? He always doesn't have a weird nickname like the Red Rifle, though. Like, what if somebody
Well, that
called
was
me
a
that? I
nickname.
would be like, still, I don't know, man. I would want something else. But all right,
I
so
don't
let's
think
go.
you get to pick your nicknames there, Jim.
Yeah, I guess so. Sometimes, right? Didn't
Nope.
LeBron James pick his nickname though? I mean, is that
Nobody picks their nickname.
I know some guys do, even though they shouldn't. Like you said, Joe, you don't pick your nicknames. You
The
get your
guys that get
nicknames.
the guys that pick their own nicknames are the people that don't get called by that nickname by other
Right,
people.
exactly. And that reminds me too of Scott Engel that joined us earlier, fantasy football guru, the king. Again, he did not pick that nickname either. He was given that name too as well. So you definitely got to follow him on X at Scott E the King. There you go. Check him out. And he writes for the Seattle Seahawks all over Rotoballer fantasy picks too for waging. So you got to check him out there too as well. Definitely love it when he's on the show. So Saints, again, they're involved in another trade. They traded away offensive lineman Trevor Penning to the Los Angeles Chargers,
We're
who
back
right
to
now,
nothing.
again, they're just going through linemen left and right, injuries on top of injuries. They're getting some back at this point, but trying to add another guy just for some depth here as they keep dropping for a 2027 sixth round pick. So basically nothing, peanuts for this one.
Yeah, I mean, and this is the thing is Trevor Penning was a backup anyway. Like he wasn't doing anything for the Saints. Might as well move on from him. Here, Chargers, go for it. Have Trevor Penning. Have fun with him. And the other and honestly, like the other part of it too is that the Chargers are desperate. That's what this spells to me. Is they're desperate to keep this playoff caliber team rolling because Joe Alt came back. I feel like too early from his injury prior and re-aggravated it more seriously by ending his season with a torn ACL. So whose fault is that? Is that the Chargers training staff or organization making the call to bring him back too
Mhm.
soon? When you know that you have playoff, ramifications on the line, you got big time. Hopefully, you can make it deep into the playoffs. Maybe upset a few people. So for the Chargers, this is desperation now. Now they're trying to save this season, even though they're going through a lot of injuries in the backfield. Both the running backs, Najee Harris and Marion Hampton, going down with injury. Hampton should be coming back soon. We just don't have a target date yet. And now Joe Alt done for the year.
Mhm.
Not for several weeks. He's done for the year. So they bring in Trevor Penning. Now Trevor Penning is going to have to. He's not going to be able to fill those shoes. Honestly, like you're just
Yeah.
going to have to see what you can do with the man.
Absolutely. We got a shout out to our man, Mike Tackett, in the house with us tonight. He says,
What up,
with an
Mike?
abundance. Yeah. Hey, Mike, with an abundance of first and second round picks in the next couple years, is
Yes,
now the time for the New York Jets to go all in on someone like John Gruden or Steve Sarkisian to build this team for the next decade to come.
I would say no. I would say absolutely not. I think you need to go like Steve Sarkisian. Like I don't even know why his name keeps getting brought up. Honestly, like he's a college coach. You can't bring him in here and think that he's going to all of a sudden be an NFL great coach. I just don't see it happening. Gruden, he's got his court case still. Like
Mm-hmm.
until that is all resolved, until he's able to come back and coach in the NFL, I think we can't even have that conversation. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
honestly, like for the Jets, they just got Aaron Glenn. I don't think they're firing him. So that they're getting all these draft picks because they're going to do whatever they have to try to turn this thing around. But unfortunately, fortunately, whatever way you want to view it, Aaron Glenn's going to be the coach of the Jets next year.
Yeah.
So
And yeah. His reign as the coach is going to be interesting again. It already is, because he kind of seems again like he at first he comes in. I'm a hard nosed guy. This is what I'm going to do. You're going to follow the rules this way, and if this guy doesn't play as well, boom, you're cut or whatever, and this and that. And as we're evolving, he's questioning himself. He's actually gone on to the podium and answered and said, "Well, I'm still learning, so I'm trying things out. I'm not even sure, and I'm still finding myself as a coach as I'm going." It was almost like a therapy session. And then on top of it, when they're just trying to ask, "All right, well, who are you going to start this week? Not sure. Justin's not playing good. Are you going to go with Tyrod or this and this?" He goes, "Well, that's for me to know, and I'm not going to let out that information, and this and this." It's kind of like, why? Like, what's the big secret? What are you holding in that? Like, that's like all of a sudden it's going to be a big major factor that teams can't, plan to play against, Justin Fields as opposed to Tyrod Taylor. Like, that's a drastic difference. I just don't know how he's handling the head coaching position right now at this point and moving forward.
A lot of coaches do that, though. A lot of coaches withhold if a player's healthy enough to come back, or what player they're going to go with at is key positions. I mean, that's not anything new. I mean, some people might view it as a little weird, because there have been journalists that have also stated, like, really, what's the big deal? Like,
Yeah.
even if you disclose that information, is it really going to impact and change the game that much if they prepare for your original starter versus your backup? Like, if there's game film on both players, they can just go back and look at their tendencies when Justin
Mm,
Fields played in Chicago, or when Justin Fields, played for Pittsburgh. Like, I if it's different if it's a new player, like Jackson Dart, for example.
mm,
Like, he just got into this league, he just got an opportunity to start. There's really only a few games of film that you could really watch to gain anything out of it. But guys that have been in the league longer time, they've been around a few years, it's really not a secret. You can disclose that information and just say, "Yeah, we're gonna go with Tyrod Taylor." Like, let's be honest.
yeah.
Tyrod Taylor has performed better than Fields at the quarterback position with the Jets. He's a better thrower of the football. So just come out and say that, Aaron. Why are you hiding it? Just say,
Well,
"Hey, we're gonna go with Tyrod."
yeah. I mean, well, at, at this point, I just say you still keep Justin Fields in. You already know what Tyrod is, and you kind of know what Justin is too, but you only have him for the year anyways. And what's the worst that can happen? You win a couple of games somehow. You'd rather lose. You know what I mean? And then Justin still has a chance to salvage whatever he might for some other team because obviously, that
There's
they're going to
nothing to
move on.
salvage. There's
No, I,
nothing to
I I
salvage.
get that, but again, might as well just keep him in though at this point. I mean, you're in tank mode right now. So I
I
don't
don't
see
think
I don't see the point of bringing in like, Tyrod Taylor. You're not saving a job. You're not saving your job. You're not doing anything different. I don't know if that even gives you the best chance to win at this point.
But
You
that's
know,
the thing is, like, coaches want to win, players want to win. They're trying to keep the morale up as much as they can. Obviously, it's not going too well right now, but if they can win a couple games, maybe 3 games before the end of the year, it'll definitely make them feel a little bit better about themselves and saying, it, my career's over here."
yeah, yeah, absolutely. So, all right, so you brought up the Giants too, and Jackson Dart, and reminded me too again because we talked about um Russell Wilson possibly. People asking about him, and maybe the Giants should just get rid of him because they've been dead set on keeping Jameis Winston. He is not moving, even though they don't really dress him for the game or whatever. He's just still out there listed as the QB3. And still not able to move Russell Wilson. So was it a fact that just nobody even really wanted him, or that for some reason the Giants that were just like, no, they were still asking too much for some stupid ass reason?
Well, the teams that needed a quarterback that were desperate already pulled off their trades for
Hmm.
quarterbacks.
Hmm.
So it was a supply and demand thing.
So I'm
If
desperate, but I'm not that
if
desperate.
I'll say this, if the Cincinnati Bengals didn't get the Joe Flacco trade, you could see them reach out to and get Russell Wilson. You could see them to go and get somebody else. But the fact that they were able to, which blows my mind. I don't know why Cleveland would trade
That is still,
interdivisional team their own
yeah,
quarterback.
that's got to be the bonehead like play of the year or something. They're
It's
traded a
the
year, right?
bonehead
Like
move of the
move
year,
of the
Chin.
year. Like that's epic. Yeah, like
But
I've never seen that happen.
that right there would have been kind of the only other franchise that I could see where they might have been desperate enough to maybe say, "You know what? Let's go get Russell Wilson. We won't have to give up much in compensation. yes, we're gonna have to take on that contract, but it is what it is. Like, but we didn't get to see that, and honestly, other teams that maybe could have pulled the trigger and said, "Hey, let's bring him in this year. We'll see what happens next year." Nobody wanted him.
Mhm.
Nobody was knocking on the Giants' door to get Russell Wilson by choice. It would have been a desperation move no matter who, if they were going to try to get a trade compensated and done.
Yep, yep. All right, Hody's out there. He says, Chargers, Ravens, 49ers strike me as easy Super Bowl picks. If it weren't for injuries. Yeah, but it is for injuries, so yeah. Okay. Oh man. Yeah, I mean that was your early on, right? Chargers looked like they could be good, this year, second year under Harbaugh. Ravens are always in the thick of things. And that's what's funny about the Ravens and where they are now, right? With the injuries that they had, but the way the division has kind of played itself out, like you said, even Joe, the fact that the Browns traded away Joe Flacco to a rival, and they were able to win some, but then they also still with last week's game to lose. Oh my gosh! In a game that they should have won against the Bears, which is astronomical. The Pittsburgh Steelers win, and yeah, everybody's still kind of in the thick of things. Everybody's still in the mix still. It's still they're feeling it out, So it's still a chance that Baltimore, can make a push now out of this after losing Lamar Jackson for so many weeks, after losing top defensive guys for a few weeks, you know what I mean? So if they can start to get healthy towards the end, they're not a dark horse team, but dude, they could be there rising from the ashes at the end after this is all said and done.
I mean, honestly, when you look at that team and how they were they were missing so many players. Ronnie Stanley, their left tackle, was gone. You know, one of their linebackers was injured. Nate Wiggins was injured. Their corner, Jair Alexander, they end up getting
Mhm.
rid of and trading
Yeah.
him
Mhm.
because of injuries too. Like he was all often injured. So like there was several players on both sides, but none more important than Lamar Jackson was also missing time.
Mhm.
And when you're missing Lamar Jackson from this offense does not run well. This offense cannot execute. They struggle. And that was more evident than not in those weeks that he was missing. Once he came back, 4 touchdown passes.
Mhm.
I think he had over 50 or 60 yards rushing. Like this team was a very different offense when Lamar Jackson stepped on the field, and then also on top of that, they are healthier now. Nate Wiggins got back in the lineup. Ronnie Stanley got back in the lineup. Like, you know, everything is starting to move forward in a better light for them that you could honestly see this team start off the worst they ever have in recent memory to all of a sudden now they're chomping at the bit at the end of the year to win the division.
Mhm. Yeah, and Lamar's gotta be Lamar, though. I mean, that last game, his numbers sound good and all, rate of 143, 4 touchdowns. He only had 14 yards rushing, and he wasn't running. You could see, but you could tell he's probably still a little banged up, still not fully 100%. And we like him and stuff and we can still I think he's still got ability to pass, but if he doesn't have that other side of him that he can take off and run and do that, he's not an average quarterback, but it definitely diminishes him as a quarterback to an extent that that game, was a lot closer than it really should have been if he's 100%, against Miami, which Miami's, not a good team, especially at this point. Um, Hody's in there again. He says, as a Broncos fan, I recommend that moving on from Wilson at $32 million, he's our highest paid player this year. Just bite the bullet. Hashtag it gets better. Mm-mm-mm. Yeah, maybe.
Don't have to though.
Don't have to though. Yeah.
You just wait
Uh,
until his contract expires.
yeah, just wait and go. And then Mike Tackett says, "Is Russ too much of a distraction for teams to want?" Um, I don't think he's much of a distraction as the fact that I think they just don't want him. There's no upside. His play isn't there. He's not a locker room guy. I just don't think there's a real
There you
fit anymore.
Jim, you just hit the nail on the head. He is a
Mhm.
distraction. He isn't a locker room guy. He is not a team player guy.
Yeah.
He is a very much a distraction on and off the field for teams and players. I've heard someone that actually talked to Russell Wilson, someone that actually I know that was trying to get to know the guy.
Mhm.
He comes off as very standoffish. He comes off as I'm better than everybody else type of person. And you can't have that kind of an attitude, especially at a leadership position at quarterback, and be like super successful in the NFL. Yes, he won the Super Bowl. We get that with Seattle, blah 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 blah. But after that, when he was still striving to get back into starting quarterback, caliber play and be the answer to anyone's problems, he is a distraction. He's a problem. And I think that is now circulating through the whole entire NFL universe to where teams are shying away from even signing him. Look at this
Mhm.
offseason. This offseason shows you everything you have to see. Russell Wilson was
Yeah.
one of the last quarterback free agents to sign, and he took the contract that was left.
Yeah.
Like, it wasn't like, "Oh, I gotta choose between 3 teams." No, it was like, "The Giants offered me a contract. Pittsburgh didn't offer me one. I'm going to the Giants." You know what I
Mhm.
mean? So that just right there has to, shows you everything you need to know.
Right, right, and you kinda knew something was up too, because I remembered when he showed up to his second Super Bowl, the big difference. When you get to the first one, again, nobody really knows who he is. He wasn't expected to be the starter. Second one, he shows up in a limo and champagne and everything else, already acting like he's a superstar. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
Like he's already made
Yeah,
it. So
yeah,
we should have saw it there, right? I mean, I saw it.
right.
I'm like, wow. I kind of thought, and I was like, wow, look at this guy. He seems, what the hell is all that? I mean, bro, settle down, bro. And then he was still even playing at a decent level. But now as we hear some of the stuff from under, behind the scenes and between the lines, and more, I think will even come out about him and his relationship, his wife, and how they are in public, and then all this other stuff. I think it will be, telling and unfold and tell a whole different story about Russell Wilson and why, again, he has been avoided so long. So let's get to one other major trade here that happened and went down today. It involves your Raiders and Jacoby Myers asking for a trade so long ago. He finally gets what he had asked for, but there he goes. I call him Jacoby the Jag. So what do you think, Joe? What do you think about that one? What do you think about the compensation even?
I mean, the Raiders wanted a third round pick for him. And the same thing that goes along with the Rashid Shaheed deal is, you know, teams will often kind of compare other trades to decipher, say, all right, well, do we see this as, is it comparable to this one, or is it a little like light or heavy? So the Jacoby Myers trade, like, obviously he's a very good solid wide receiver in the NFL. And this all stems from the offseason between him and the Raiders, how the Raiders wanted to re-sign him. He wanted to stay a Raider, but they couldn't agree on a number. This leads me to believe that Jacoby Myers wanted to be paid higher than what I think the Raiders were willing to do, like maybe in the 30 to 35 million a year range, where they didn't feel comfortable with it. So for them now, they get to this point where they got to move him. They end up agreeing with a 26 fourth round pick, 26 sixth round pick in exchange for him to go to the Jaguars. I think this is a good move for the Jaguars, honestly. Like, for
Mhm.
them to get a starting caliber receiver who's still technically in his prime at the latter part, but still there. Um, Very good, solid receiver for them, and Trevor Lawrence is going to love throwing the football to him. Now, this also stems from the fact that Brian Thomas Jr. is injured. You know,
Yeah.
they have a young up and
Or
coming Parker Washington at receiver as well that they like, but now they're adding more to the arsenal. So until Brian Thomas comes back, Jacoby
Travis
Myers
Hunter?
and Parker Washington will be the 2 guys that'll be on the receiving end of all the passes, and I
Mhm.
think this is a good move for the Jaguars. The Raiders obviously weren't gonna pay him the number, so they get compensation for him.
Mhm. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I think it's same thing. I mean, I think, if he doesn't wanna be there, he doesn't go. I don't think just like when Scott talked about it too, I never really saw, Jacoby Myers as like a number 1 wide receiver. So to try and bring him in as such, I mean, without getting some, extra, um
He'll never be a
gas
number
there,
1.
so no. So moving to the Jags, I think it's a good fit, like you're talking about here, a little bit more depth too until Travis Hunter can come back and get those guys involved, and the compensation, I think, was what you were going to probably get out of that one, so,
Yeah,
um
just to be clear, Jacoby Myers wasn't number 1 with the Raiders, and he not a
mhm,
number 1 with the
mhm,
Jaguars. Like, that
mhm,
was never going to be a thing.
mhm. Alright, Mike Tackett, it says did I already say this one? Oh, yeah, I did. I did say it. There you go. There we go. No,
The
that's what I
Legion
wanted to
of
look.
Boom.
Legion of Boom. Jag Kobe Myers. That's what he's got the name for him right there. And he says Legion of Boom saved his ass.
Talking
For
about Russell Wilson.
Russell Wilson.
Yep.
Yeah. Yeah. That was the whole thing. That was a defense. And um, defense does win championships, and that was big there. And again, if Russell Wilson threw the ball where it should have been, in that but again, it's still debatable that they should have ran the ball with Marshawn Lynch, at the goal line there, no, too.
It's not
Not
debatable. He should have ran
put
the
it in
damn
there.
ball.
Yeah, but still, he should have executed the play. He execute the play too.
Should have ran the
A
ball.
lot of different shoulda, woulda, shouldas on that one, but it was heartbreaking at the time. But yeah. All right. So Joe, you got any more trades you want to talk about? I think that's it, right?
That's all the trades, bud.
That's it. That's it. That's all is all said and done here today. Wild day trade deadline. So we'll talk tomorrow on the Football on the No Show, our other show. So you can guys check us out there on Football on the No Show on YouTube. We thank you so much for joining us here on the Blindside Blitz on Grumblings Media. Joe, go ahead, tell these guys too where they can find more episodes as we are going through a transition. Joe and I are going to be taking over the channel, right, Joe? Right? We're going to be taking over this whole damn channel. It's going to be a mutiny, and we're going to take it over as a sports channel. It's going to get divided, split up. But us in the buzzer beaters, basketball too. If you guys like basketball, we got the buzzer beaters with us. Some changes going on here within Grumblings Media, but sports is going to come first on this one. So we're excited for the change. You guys should be excited to see more of this, what we have planned for you guys, more guests, more exciting stuff. Joe, tell them where they can find it.
Right on YouTube. It's that simple. Hit the
There you go.
subscribe button over at Grumblings Media. Hit the thumbs up. Tell a friend to tell a friend. Share it. Do all that jazz. You guys know what to do. Hit us up on the
Boom.
socials.
That's it. All right. So that's it for us tonight, and we'll see you guys in the next one.